6.2 Metabolic Reactions. Inside your cells there are constantly many chemical reactions all going on at the same time. The term metabolism refers to the sum of all of the chemical reactions in your cell or in any living organism. We can break these metabolic reactions into two groups. One group is called anabolism, or anabolic reactions. These are forming new chemical bonds. And so we could take two small reactants, A plus B, put those together, form a new bond, and create a larger product, AB. Another group of reactions are the catabolic reactions, or catabolism. These reactions break bonds. So we begin with a large molecule and we break that down into smaller product molecules. Both reactants and products in either one of these reactions have a specific amount of free energy. This is called Gibbs free energy. Free energy is the amount of energy that is available to do work, or the amount of energy that's in those chemical bonds that could be released to do work. This diagram is called an energy diagram. What we have here on the y-axis is the amount of energy in some molecules at the beginning of a reaction, and then across the x-axis we have the progress of the reaction or time. If you look carefully at this diagram, what you will notice is that the energy of the reactants is higher than the energy of the products. So what happens at the end of this reaction, there is less free energy in the products than we had in the reactants at the beginning of the reaction. So a certain amount of energy has been released. This would be called an exergonic reaction. This is a reaction that releases energy. Some of that chemical bond energy is going to be released, and it's this energy that we can capture. Living organisms can capture a portion of this released energy and convert that into other things. This is typical of a catabolic reaction, those that break down chemical bonds. Whenever we digest food, we are starting with large biochemical molecules, and we break those down into smaller molecules. As we are breaking chemical bonds, energy is released. We can capture some of that energy to do our own work. Here's another energy diagram, but this one is going uphill. Again, if we begin over on the left-hand side of the diagram, the reactants have a specific amount of free energy, and at the end of the reaction, the products have more energy. So this one has gone uphill. Well, where did that energy come from? This requires an input of energy. This type of reaction is called an endergonic reaction. It requires the input of energy, so the free energy of the products is greater than the free energy of the reactants. This is typical of an anabolic reaction. Anabolic reactions are when we take energy that's been extracted from food that we digest, and we use that to build our own proteins, to build our own cells. And we are forming new bonds that requires an input of energy. Inside living organisms, we have something that is called reaction coupling. What this means is that as energy is released by an exergonic reaction, it is immediately used to drive an endergonic reaction. Remember, those endergonic reactions require an input of energy, and so we run these reactions simultaneously. Energy is released by one reaction, immediately used as the input energy for an endergonic reaction. Again, a simple example, the digestion of food, that would be catabolic. We're breaking down food molecules, releasing that energy. We immediately use that energy to form something called ATP. This is a diagram of our ATP cycle. So if we begin over on the left-hand side, we have energy that's been released from digestion. That would be an exergonic reaction or catabolic reaction. We use that energy and the molecule ADP, adenosine diphosphate, plus another phosphate group, and we form a chemical bond to make adenosine triphosphate. Okay, forming that third phosphate bond requires energy, so that would be an endergonic reaction. So we're going to couple the exergonic digestion of food with the endergonic formation of ATP, and the energy that is required to make that third phosphate bond is now stored potential energy, and as the cell needs energy to do other things, it can break that third phosphate bond. Breaking the bond is exergonic, and that energy can immediately be used to drive some other endergonic reaction. ATP must constantly be replenished in the cell. In the next lesson, Lesson 7, we will look at cellular respiration and see how we do break down food molecules, extract that energy, and use the energy to make ATP.